Okay, so welcome everyone. It's a lovely Monday. We're right at the beginning of the month. We're just the first week of the month, which is always fun and crazy and exciting. And we did have some non-farm payroll already. So typically the first week of the month we have that. But it just so happens they fit it in. They squeezed it in last Friday. So non-farm payroll's out of the way, and that's okay with me. But good week so far. I like some of the setups that we have, and I like some of the things that are setting up. We have some really good stuff. Always a reminder, if you'd like a free trial and you would like to join us in the group, you can go to daytradersfx.com and you can click on join, that little join button. There's a big green button that says where you can get a free trial and so on. Remember, you can get annual trials. Keeping those available for a little bit longer. We have memberships that include the live chat room, memberships that don't include the live chat room. But either way, you can get a free trial to any of those. So we'd love to have you with us. And I just posted the link in the chat. And remember, you can get that free trial by clicking on join or by just going to this start now button right there, right at daytradersfx.com. So hope to have you with us. I just always like to remind everyone, because it's a great idea to get a free trial started at the beginning of the week so you can get a pretty good feel of how we do things. Alright, so I'm just going to buzz through a couple of things. There's some setups that I'm looking at. We've got some trades going, and we've got some more in the works that I'm kind of loving to death. Real quick, we don't have a ton of exciting U.S. news this week, which I'm super good with because we've got a ton of other really exciting news. So as far as U.S. news goes, we have ISM on Tuesday. That's important enough, and trade balance on Wednesday, and that's important enough, I guess. Unemployment claims, nobody cares about that. So we really kind of have two medium important U.S. news announcements. But the rest of the week, we have tons of good stuff. Australian interest rate. This is going to be a good one. We're going to look at a couple of Aussie pairs. This is coming in about 5 hours. Interest rate announcement out of Australia tonight in about 5 hours. That's a big one. Services PMI for the UK tomorrow is decent, not major. Employment numbers for New Zealand, that's pretty big. We're looking at some of the New Zealand pairs. Wednesday, we have employment numbers for Australia. That's huge. Such a big mover. Love that trade. And trade balance for Canada, so that's a good one. Thursday, we have interest rates from the UK and from Europe. So the ECB and the Bank of England will be announcing rates, so that's a huge deal on Thursday. And then we have some more rate statements from Australia, and then we have employment numbers on Friday for Canada. So we have so much stuff, and remember, we have a Canadian dollar trade going right now that we're pretty excited to see how that thing goes, especially with some coming news announcements. So it's pretty important. Okay, we definitely just want to know about those and so on. All right, so as I was looking back and forth at the euro dollar and the dollar Swiss franc, I noticed they both have these two similar setups, and they always kind of do the same thing in the opposite direction, right? They almost go up pip for pip and down pip for pip, opposite directions, but they move very, very closely to each other. And I started noticing we have kind of these two little situations here. So number one, the euro dollar, this is a 4-hour chart, and I'm liking this. Our 4-hour 200 moving average is not crazy far, but it definitely meets our criteria. We're 96 bars out, and we're usually looking for, anywhere from 75 to 100, depending on what pair it is. So 96 is definitely right on that range there. We have this nice little double top here. It's about 134.45, and you can see that was the high right here. 1-hour chart on this euro dollar kind of ran up to that and bounced around a little bit. So what I'm interested in doing on this euro dollar is trading the break of that high. Now, we have a missed weekly pivot from last week that's a whopping 20 pips away. Not super exciting. But, it's 20 pips away. Might at least get the party started a little bit. Then we have a monthly and a daily pivot, about 40 pips away. Still not the most exciting, but decent. But then we have the 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart that's currently about 80 pips away. And then we have the weekly pivot from the week before, which is 110 pips away. These are all super viable targets. Obviously, these guys right here are going to probably act more as speed bumps than anything. This 134.66 area and you know, and this 134.85 and all this stuff is hopefully just going to, you know, cause a little bump in the market, but it'll be able to continue on through that. So most likely we're going to be long short term, you know, 100 pips at the most, but we're going to get long above 134.45 on euro dollar and see if we can get a run up into 135.100 and 135.50. So that's what we're going to be looking for on euro dollar. This will be a nice little break to trade because we've got a good little price pattern here, a little short-term double top, nice resistance, nice breakout, and a missed moving average and 2 missed weekly pivot points. So I kind of love everything about it. One thing that I didn't look at, and it's kind of debatable, I guess, where we would want to draw this exactly, but let's just say we go from this high to this low right here. And it's interesting that you guys know how I feel about this whole Fibonacci situation. The Fibonacci is just about 134.50 as well. So we know if we clear that 23% fib, we have a really good chance of reaching that 38. And that 38 is right about 135.100. So you know, worst case scenario, hopefully we'll be able to get 50 pips out of it. Best case scenario, I think we got 100 pips on this euro dollar being long above 134.45. Okay, that's that. I'm keeping an eye on the pound dollar. The 1 hour chart's getting pretty extended, but I'm just not excited about buying this pound dollar yet. Maybe it's because I just don't feel like we have the best setup. But we're gonna watch the pound dollar. We'll see where it goes this week, and we'll talk about some short-term buying opportunities, and whatever those may be, they'll probably lead to some slightly longer-term selling opportunities on pound dollar. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's kind of what we're looking for there. We will be live. I'm going to be live in the chat for the Aussie interest rate announcement, and we're going to be watching some of these levels. We're going to see where the market kind of goes with the news coming up. The Aussie is so choppy. It is so choppy right now. It's just all over the place, and I don't really have much of a setup. We had a nice little rising wedge that broke out, and then it's kind of stayed for the most part, but it's just kind of, I'm not loving it. And so I'm keeping an eye on where this is going, but it's pretty interesting that we have this little level right here, which is around 93.35. Right. It's basically current market price, and that is turning out to be quite a tough little level. So that could be a great area to trade a break with the coming news. If it pulls back from that a little bit, we'll definitely have a buy order above this and see if the news drives it up. And if it comes down, we'll identify some breakout levels to get short on Aussie dollar. But I don't think it'll be a great one to trade, just kind of to get into something and see where it all goes because it's so choppy. I think our best chance is going to be trade a little bit of a breakout with the coming news. So Aussie dollar will be great for that. Euro Aussie, you know, is going to be fairly similar to that whole situation. We're going to identify some levels, and I'll talk about those for the group during the you know, about a half hour or so before the live news hits tonight. Same thing, pound Aussie. Couple of things to watch for there, a few levels. Aussie New Zealand, we have a nice little high in this Aussie New Zealand, about 110.50, and so we're just going to kind of keep an eye on all of these levels with the coming Aussie news tonight. I don't have any even medium-term things that I'm really looking at on any of the Aussie pairs. I'm more interested in the news coming, spiking, you know, breaking a support or resistance level, and getting us into a trade that we can ride for, you know, 30, 40, 50 pips, 60 pips maybe, call it good. Otherwise, a lot of those Aussie pairs for me right now are just a little bit choppy, and I don't really have much of a great setup otherwise beyond just trading a nice breakout with some coming news. Okay, so we're already in dollar CAD short. It's looking good. It got a little bit dirty here in the process. It pulled back from our entry a little bit, bounced around up here. But the dollar CAD is looking good, and I still support a little bit of a move down on dollar CAD. Remember that we have, as this loads and loads, we have a current weekly pivot that's about 108.80. There we go. 108.88, there it is. That's the current weekly pivot. And then we have a missed weekly pivot from last week that's about 107.80 as well, so it's nicely down there. So we've got a little bit of room for this dollar CAD to move down and give us a bit of a run. So we're already in it. We're already short. Hopefully we'll be able to grab some nice trades out of this thing and kind of keep it running. But for the short term, I'm definitely bearish dollar CAD down into at least, down towards 108. 40, 50, 10800 probably at the lowest for the moment. I know we do have a missed weekly pivot back there at about 107.80, but it might be a little bit of a stretch right now. It might be a bit of a rough run getting there. So right now we're just targeting 60, maybe 70 pips on our current dollar CAD trade. But we're short. Stops above the highs. The highs here are just shy of 109.50. So stops above the highs, we're short, targeting about 108.40 area. So it's looking like a really nice little trade there. So to kind of go back to this euro-dollar setup, remember dollar Swiss franc has a really nice little move in the works here as well. And we have a nice setup on this 4-hour chart. We're just about 90 bars out or so on the 4-hour chart with dollar Swiss franc. And I think if we can get below about this 90.35 area, we should have a decent chance. Again, it's probably going to be a stretch. Same thing with euro dollar. But I think there's a pretty good opportunity of getting a move from that break down to previous missed weekly pivots. So we have about 75 pips or so to get back into the missed weekly pivot from last week. We now have 2 missed weekly pivots in a row. We've already hit this week's weekly pivot, so that one's out of the way. And I think getting bearish below about 90.35, getting short dollar Swiss franc is going to be a good little bet. Just kind of trading a little bit of correction. I'm still looking for dollar to rally. I'm totally looking for dollar to rally, but I think this is a good opportunity for the dollar to kind of pull back just a little bit. And then continue its rally against Swiss franc, against pound, against euro, against Canada. So right now we're bullish Canadian dollar, bearish U.S. dollar. So this week I'm pretty sure most of my trades are going to lean towards being bearish U.S. dollar for the week while things correct. And then probably the next week, or maybe even towards the end of this week, we'll start getting big time bullish U.S. dollar again and start trading some of those big moves. So I think we'll have some nice stuff to work with there. So again, trading the break about that 90.35 area should be a good one to get down below the 90 and into about 89.50, 60 area. So again, they're not huge profit targets. It's summertime. The thing we have to remember about summer is things are range bound, they're slower, they're just more quiet, more boring, kind of a thing. But we're still making some great trades and we're still getting some great pips. But August, typically, we've actually had an amazing June, an amazing July. May was fantastic. August can be the slowest of the slow, but we have good setups. So I don't really care, how things look. I think we have good enough setups right now to see some of these trades really play through nicely. So pretty excited about that. I am watching Euro CAD as I'm watching dollar CAD, and I think this one's looking kind of interesting. We really have the 1 hour setup more than anything. And it goes back here, and our 1 hour setups, we're just about 150 bars, so it's just right there. And we have some missed weekly pivots as well, so these levels are all going to get hit. They're all going to get hit. It's just how are we going to get into these? And so some of these really short-term ones, I'm just going to have to kind of trade in a day-by-day basis. Some of these bigger levels we'll talk about as they kind of pop up. But a lot of these, we have kind of 75 to 150 pip targets on a lot of these setups. But we have some that I'm very excited about. First of all, we are currently, Ralph, I'm going to get back to that question with you in just a moment here. But right now we have Euro Pound. We're currently in Euro Pound. We're sitting in some nice profit. It's a great little trade. And it's bounced off this top just a little bit. Now we have so much stuff going on in this Euro Pound. You can see that I've just got a million levels here. And let's get rid of some of those guys and see if we can kind of clear this up just a little bit and see where everything's going. So Euro Pound, we're long. It is it's looking great. Everything's just kind of carrying on nicely. Remember that this big range right here, we're coming up right about that 80 level. We come up to the 23% fib, and that's our kind of tell-all position for euro pound. If we get above 80, then we're headed into 80.75 and 81.50 is most likely where we're going. And I think we have a great chance of 81.50, and I'm ultimately trying to hold on for that one. So we're already in this, and I think a great place to add positions is going to be above, probably above just at 80 level. If we get an open above 80, then that should be a great little spot to get in. You can see that this high right here, that high is 79.80. It's 83, 79.83. I want to get through this high a little bit, and I want to make sure that we can really kind of clear that spot before we start making that big run up into that daily 200 moving average and into all of these missed weekly, daily, monthly pivots, Fibonacci levels, so on and so on. Yes. There still is plenty of opportunity for entry here. Probably not a chance to get in where we got in. Remember, we're in from 7,900 to 7,910, but above that 80 level should be the next spot to get in. You could probably kind of cut it a little bit close and get in with a daily open above 7,990, but I just feel like that might be a little tiny bit risky, so we want to be kind of careful with that whole side of things. So probably above 80 is going to be our best bet, but 79.90, might do the trick as well. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. But we're going to be adding to positions, or if you're not in the euro pound, we're going to be getting in above that and just kind of letting the momentum carry on through. So great little trade, loving that setup. So good, so good. I still love the pound Swiss franc as well, and I kind of like that it's retracing, it's pulling back. We have some trades. We had a trade. This thing just keeps on running and running, and it's just barely. We had this nice break of this huge rising wedge. If anyone missed the pound Swiss franc entry, we've had so many entries on this thing lately, I can't even hardly keep track. But if anyone missed this entry, we're going to have plenty of opportunity to get back in above 15300. So above 15300, I'm going to be throwing on some entries and getting short once again with the big daily target in mind. Looking for that big 149.50 area, 150 on the dot. I think we still got a couple hundred pips on this pound Swiss franc. So we're going to be getting short, most likely a little bit above 15300. With stops above the highs. You can see our highs here about 154.35. So we're going to try to get in, with some reasonable stops, but I think we're going to have a real good entry to get in on a limit order and get short pound Swiss franc and trade it down into 150. Okay, here's another favorite one I've got. Actually, not the New Zealand dollar. Euro, New Zealand. Oops, there we go. Pound yen. So we've talked about this pound yen, and we've talked about it, and we got an entry. So we were waiting on this pound yen to break this guy right here, and it had this really nice little level around 172.50, and it just right at the end of the day on Friday, it just tanked, just shot straight down and filled the order, and then it pulled back a little bit and has been hopping around and had some nice little lows and so on. So it's given us several opportunities to get out at break even over the last 24 hours or so. And we got out of this one at break even because it just I didn't like how it ran down and filled right before closing. But we're going to be getting back into this guy. This is a nice little bear flag type setup, and we're going to get back into this pound yen. You better believe we're going to get back into this thing. This is such a nice little setup and such a nice little trade. And so it's broken some trend lines. I had to go through some stuff to get here, but it's now getting through those trend lines. It's coming back up to test the top of this bear flag and the bottom of this huge trend line. And so probably we're going to get back in at the break of 172.50 again. And I'll have some pending order details posted on that for the group. But below 172.50, I think we have a great opportunity on pound yen to trade this thing down. Probably to 170 is at least what we'll target. So we're going to look for about 200 to 250 pips, and it may even go beyond that. We have some huge profit targets all the way down here. This thing is pretty overbought. It ran up about as much as I think it can run up for at least the medium term. Needs to correct, needs to pull back, and we're going to jump into that again probably around 172, 40, 50, somewhere around there. Short, and we're going to target 170. So those are the setups. So just to kind of recap, the ones I'm most excited about right now, pound yen getting into that one, pound Swiss franc getting back into that one, euro pound adding to our positions above that high, dollar Swiss franc selling the break of that 90.35 area. We're already in dollar CAD, so we're just going to keep on keeping on, and we're going to short this thing down into again, there's a couple of good targets down there between 107.80 and 108.40. So we're probably going to split it down the middle and get look for a profit target around that 108. 20, 30, 40 area. So I'll clarify that for group members as well. And then we're very excited about getting long euro dollar at the break of 134.45. So it may seem like there's not a ton of great setups this week, but there are. Euro dollar's looking great. Dollar CAD, Euro CAD, I'm liking that one even. Euro pound, pound Swiss franc, pound yen. All just looking great. So we have some really excellent setups. I'll keep everyone updated on that. Again, if you'd like to join us for a trial run in the group, we'd love to have you. Go to daytradersfx.com. You can get a free trial there. And remember, for group members, we're going to be live this evening for the Aussie interest rate announcements, which are at 9:30 p.m. chat time. So we'll be in for that, and we'll see if we can get a couple of Aussie trades with the interest rate news. So thanks a bunch, everybody. I'll take any questions, any comments, any pairs you want to talk about that I didn't cover. Send them on over. Let's have a look.